mind, I'd kind of like to talk to you about one of the experiences I had this summer. Kind of an experience. I was able to coach Little League Baseball this year, and I got to coach my son and daughter's team. It was a pretty amazing experience. It was definitely a privilege and an honor. I mean, I've coached before. I coached a high school baseball team that took second in state. I coached an American Legion team that took second in state, and I did I gave private lessons to kids back when I lived in Illinois, when I was a true Cub fan. Shh. But this was not like any of those experiences. You know, when you give lessons, you kind of get to pick who you teach, and those kids in high school can all play. This was not like any of those other experiences. You don't get to pick your team, except for my own kids. So I had my son Ashton, he's 7. My daughter was also on the team, the only girl on the team. She's takes after her mother, lucky for her. And then I had my one friend's son, he's a left-hander. He's the next Tom Glavine. I'll get you his autograph later. And then we had this boy named Marshall. He's a man amongst 8-year-old boys. He's huge. He was a great little athlete. So we had those 4 kids, and then we had 8 others who weren't like those 4. I had a boy named Jason, who it was my job to try to prevent him from climbing the dugout walls every day. I had a guy named Finn, who he taught me that I knew nothing about baseball and that I couldn't pitch. I love Finn. I had a guy named Jeffrey, a boy named Jeffrey, who I was trying to teach him to keep his hands to himself. We had Isaiah, who he was the kid that had all the gear. He had both brand new batting gloves, brand new glove, brand new bat. I think the wrapper came off of it every game that he showed up. The bat was way too big. So he had all the gear, but couldn't do anything with any of them. We had Edgar, who I've chosen to completely block out of my memory. Towns, who it was kind of my goal to try to get him to throw from third base to first base on at least 7 or 8 bounces and just get it to roll there, and then make contact with the bat maybe 1 in every 5 pitches. That was a huge accomplishment if I got that. And then we had Grant, and Grant was the sweetest boy you ever meet. He listened to everything that you said. Couldn't really do any of those things. He's his future is not in sports. It's not in baseball. He's a great kid. He's going to be very talented in life, but it's just not going to be in sports. So I quickly realized that this was not going to be one of those next state championship teams. These weren't kids that parents were paying me to coach. In fact, and this is a true story, there was actually 3 of the parents that would get together and they would go behind the stands by the tree and they would drink boxed wine out of red cups. I'm sure you can figure out which kids their parents were. So I had to accept this team. I had to accept them for who they were and realize that I had to work with every single child in a very different way. My kids, I was working on teaching them how to switch hit. My son's 7 years old. He's been switch hitting since he's 5. And I was working with Connor and Marshall and my 2 kids in a very different way than I was the other 8. So Connor's that left-handed. He's the next, Tom Glavine. We were working on pitching a lot with him. Marshall, getting him to realize that just hitting it in the outfield wasn't enough. Trying to teach him the difference between a fly ball and a line drive. I mean, these guys they're very talented for their age. The other kids weren't. So, Finn and Jason, I was working with them on, how to not hurt themselves or not hurt anyone else. Teaching them that the reason why they couldn't hit wasn't because I couldn't throw the ball to their bat. It wasn't my lack of pitching ability. It was some things that we had to work on with them. So, we worked with them, and we got them better. We worked with, some of the other kids, and it was each individual. There's something individually with each of them that we had to work on. But it was our responsibility to take them and to do something with them, to get them a little bit better, to get them to get better every time that we practice. We had 6 games or 12 games over 6 weeks. We practiced before every game. It was a lot of fun. It was a huge accomplishment just to see especially a guy like Grant, just to see him smile when they finally made contact, with that bat, and whether they made it to first or not, to see the joy in their face was amazing. And it was something quickly that I realized that this really wasn't about baseball. It hit me, and the baseball didn't hit me, but it kind of just hit me. This was more about life. This is a lesson for me. It was a lesson for me as a dad. It was a lesson for me for my own patience. And I started to think this is more of a lesson about us. Everyone in this room. It was a lesson about life. It was a lesson about our careers. That each one of those kids represented what we do in this business. That my son Ashton was the gel pack. My daughter was the notepads. Marshall was the giving plate. Connor was our Taste of Home cookbook, that integral, part of our lineup. And those other kids were the look and find again. The purple bear plush. The Together mittens, as some of you know so well. The bigger book of John Deere. And I won't mention names with those books, but you get the point. So I was given this team just like we are given a lineup. And it's our job to figure out how to make every single title just a little bit better. So this is a business relationship that we have, and the buyers provide to us a lineup that it becomes our responsibility to make it the best that we can, regardless or not if you think they're drinking box wine out of red cups. So we have this. What would you think of me as a parent, as a dad, as a coach, if I wanted to send Finn back? I thought about it, but who am I to do that? What kind of a parent am I to do that? What kind of a coach am I to do that? To try to send Finn back, to not work with a kid, to not try to make them better. Now, don't get me wrong, and I've had some conversations with some of you throughout the school year. There's no one here, really, that fights harder for you guys in that home office to get you the best product that we possibly can. I mean, fight. Literally fight. So I understand that you can't get the bigger book of John Deere to sell at a 2-to-1, especially if you live in New York City. I understand that. But we can figure out ways to make that title better. I remember Brian Ross coming up here on stage a couple years ago, 3 years ago maybe, and talking specifically about that purple plush bear. And more globally, Brian talking about how, he basically got in touch with every product, and he figured out a way to build that relationship, that rapport, and to talk about product with each one of his customers. So, Brian sold it. He sold those like crazy. And in fact, he kept going to Ken Bellows and asking him for more. And we had the same situation this year with Noel Ledesma. He sold those or his sub-rep went out, right? His helper went out and sold those at a 20-to-1. He had to not do drops that day and follow his helper with his trailer to deliver those 200. Crazy as it sounds that we lost events because of the purple bear plush selling so well, but we did. So, and this is a title that's one of the worst titles, that reps claim is one of the worst in the country, in the company ever. Yet we have people constantly telling some of these great stories about how great it sells. So, I think the idea here is to understand that the relationship within this business, to understand that we need to take ownership in the product. That once we get our team, once it's provided to us, we can't send it back. We can't send Finn back. We can't put Edgar in the dugout and just leave him there by himself. We can't put our product in the back of the warehouse. This is ours. We have to own it, and we have to figure out a way to make it better. Every single title. So how is it that we turn that 0.3 into a 0.5? How is it that we turn the 0.5 into a 0.7, the 0.7 into a 0.9, the 1-to-1 to a 1.5, and the 2-to-1 to a 3-to-1? How is it that we do these things? Those are some of the things that we're going to talk about today. How do we turn lifelong customers, or our customers, into lifelong customers? How do we reach the people that we don't normally reach? We have, what, 10 to 20 people in the schools that are consistent buyers? There's 80 more people in that school. It's so easy for us to just sit here and blame the buyers, right? I mean, it's really easy. It's easy for me to blame those parents who are sitting there drinking box wine, the reason why their kid can't play. But it's my responsibility once they get on that team to make them better. So it's easy to blame them, but once it becomes ours, we got to figure out a way to sell it. Economy stinks. Gas prices stink. Teachers are losing their jobs. But we still got to figure out, I mean, it's our job to sell products. It's our job to sell as many products as we possibly can. It's what I want. It's what our managers want. It's what you want. It's what the buyers want. So we're all in this together. We all have the same common goal. We may drop the ball at times, but we need to try to sell a product the best we can. So we get the, oh no, Mr. Bellows, I don't want to try this new item. Why are you calling me? What's the company want to test now? I tried that 17 years ago. It never worked for me. Or, what do you want me to do now? What are we trying to test? We keep figuring out ways to say no instead of figuring out ways to say yes. We need to turn I can'ts into I can. You know, people complain about, the Hoffmans winning an award. They win them all the time. And I don't want Todd up here on the stage any more than you do. But I've done a few ride-alongs with them because they make me. Just want to see her paying attention. But one of the things that I learned from them is this whole relationship, and that a relationship is reciprocity, and that it's just not Todd going into the school and knowing the secretary's name, and it's not just Todd knowing the secretary's husband's name or the dog's name, and he knows all those things, and it's baffling that he's in that many schools and he knows that many things about so many people. It's unbelievable. But that's just the one side of that relationship. They don't do business with him because he knows their name. They do business with him because they know everything about Todd and Judy and Mirandy and Doug and their sons and the football and the dogs and everything. So when he asks things about them, they're asking things about him. There is a true relationship between the two of them, between each individual school, between each individual person. So I keep thinking of the Cheers episode. I keep thinking of what's wrong with American society. And I'm not getting into politics, at least not yet. But we've lost that. We've lost the ability to go to that local hardware store and have their relationship with that guy. And when you buy that wrench, you know that you can go back to that guy and he's going to honor it for you. We have Walmarts and Targets and big, huge businesses where we don't know any of their names. They don't know anything about us. And we've lost the ability to go to that local Cheers and talk to Norm and to Sam and everyone else. You don't go there because the beer tastes better. I mean, it does at Wrigley Field. But beyond that, the beer doesn't taste better in any other pub. You go there because of the relationships that you have with these people. We have that ability here. We are a mobile Cheers. We're a mobile local hardware store. We're the only business that's probably left in the United States that has this ability. You have that ability. Thank you. We can. So those are the things that we're going to talk about today.